Hey there everybody, my name is Shadow Beats, and today I wanted to do a tutorial video on the basics of building a melody. I get a lot of comments on my songs and other videos really, saying, man, I wish I could do this, or I tried getting into music but I didn't know where to start. And so hopefully this video will help people get off on the right foot. Now I do know that there are hundreds, if not thousands, of videos on YouTube that kind of explain music theory and, melody and how it all works. Hopefully this video is going to be a bit different in that I'm going to be taking a bit of a different approach, a more mathematical approach, just because that's kind of how my brain works. Now I will say that this video is directed more towards, the very beginners. So if you have any knowledge of music theory whatsoever, this video might be boring to you. So I just wanted to throw that out there. If you're looking for any expert advanced techniques, this is not going to be the video for it. And I'm probably not going to be the guy to make that video because I'm not an expert on it either. However, with that said, let's get started. Okay, so before we start actually making the melody, there's some things you're going to need to know and some terms you're going to need to understand. The first of which is knowing which note you are playing on a keyboard, how to read a piano more or less. Now if you're in a digital audio workstation like Reason or FL Studios or Ableton, whatever it might be, you're probably going to be working with one of these piano rolls, and it's just so helpful to know which note is which. This is a D, this is an E. And the way we do this is you will notice that obviously there are white keys and black keys. And the black keys are grouped in 2, 3, 2, 3. C, which is essentially the most basic note in music, is always going to be the first white note before the set of 2. Always. So that's C, that's C, that's C. And music only uses the letters A through G. And so once you get to G, it just goes back to A and repeats. So you've got C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and so on. So, if you hit a note and you don't know where you are, just find C, first note before the 2, and just count up C, D, E, F, G. The black notes, which are not to be feared, I cannot stress this enough. Excuse my cat. The black notes should not be feared. They are called either sharps or flats, depending on where you're coming from. And they are named for the note that they are either before or after. And I will tell you what I mean by that. This is C. If you go up, it's C sharp. It's also D flat, because this is D, and if you go down, D flat. So C sharp and D flat are the same thing. G sharp and A flat are the same thing. I'll put a chart up on the screen right now. If you want to open it in a separate page or whatever so you can reference it, that's fine. The link will also be in the description to that image's URL. The next thing you're going to need to know about are keys. And what a key is it's basically your guideline to what notes you are going to be using in your song. Or to put it more simply, what white keys you're going to be using and what black keys you're going to be using. For example, the key of C major has no black keys. It has no sharps. It's all white keys. And that's why I said it was the most basic note, because the C major scale is the simplest. It's the one that everybody learns first, because you don't have to worry about those dreaded black keys. The key of A major has 3 sharps, F, C, and A. I'm not going to go into too much detail as far as what makes a key what it is. That's a bit more music theory than we need for this video. But basically, your key is determined by the first note in your bass line. So let's say you want to use G. G. I hit 2 notes at the same time. You typically don't want to do that. So you hit G, you like G, G tickles your fancy. Then you want to determine if you want to use a major scale or a minor scale. Major scales are typically more happy sounding, minor scales are more sad sounding. So you hit G, let's just say you want to make a happy song. So you want to use G major, go into Google, type in key of G major, and I'm pretty sure the very first link is going to be a Wikipedia page that will tell you what notes are in the key of G major, and then you will use those. One other thing that I should mention is if you are going to sharp a note, you essentially play one half step above the note that you're trying to sharp. And what a half step is it's basically the very next key up. So a half step up from C is this. This is a half step. Even this is a half step because it's the very next key up. If you go 2 up, it's a whole step. So that's a whole step. That's a whole step. This is a whole step because 1, 2. Yeah. Also, if you are looking at a list of notes in a key, you're typically not going to see the same letter used twice. You're probably going to see each letter used once in some iteration. For example, the key of C sharp major is every note is sharped. So you've got C sharp, D sharp, F, and F sharp. That probably won't be written that way, though. It'll probably be C sharp, D sharp, E sharp, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B sharp, C sharp. So that's just a little tip, I guess you could call it. Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, we can finally start making our melody, which is the whole reason why we're here, right? So the first thing that you're going to want to do is pick your key, or pick the note that you want to start out on. For this video, I'm going to choose the key of D, and the reason is not because I want the D. No. In most videos that you see like this, they choose the key of C, which, as I stated before, is the easiest one. There's no black keys to worry about, it's all the white ones, which I never really liked, because right from the jump, you're kind of saying, the black keys are scary, they're gonna eat your children, you know, just, they're, and they're really not. So I'm going to use the key of D, which has 2 sharps, F and C, so, you know, you can learn how they work, why they work, and understand them. So what we gotta do is just go from D and make something that sounds good. I like that. Alright, so I'm just going to draw it in. I'm not going to record because some people may or may not have MIDI keyboards that they can use. So we're going to start on D and then go up to F sharp and G and D. There we go. All written in. So we've got our D, F sharp, G, A, D, F sharp, G, D. There we go. That is our bass line, so to speak. And that right there is the hardest part of the melody making process, at least for this video. Everything else just falls into place. All you need is a little bit of knowledge of music theory. Okay, so let's be serious here. This sounds good, but it sounds weak. Really weak. We've got one note playing at a time, and it leaves a lot to be desired. We need to beef it up, we need to give it some substance, we need to build chords. And how do you build chords? Well, it's actually pretty simple. It follows a nice little formula. What you do is you take your note and go up 7 half steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you've got the A. And you get this sound. Beautiful, gorgeous, it's perfect. No, it really is. This is called a perfect fifth. Now, why is it called a fifth even though you go up 7 half steps? Well, It's the fifth note in your key. So in this particular case, you've got D, goes up to A. A is number 5 on our list here. And that count up 7 half steps, well, that's what you do for every other note, really. Let me turn off preferences, trigger notes while editing so I don't blow out your eardrums. Just highlight all of your notes, click and drag, Control, or whatever your Mac equivalent of Control is, and then just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Something to take note of. That whole count up 7 half steps to get your perfect fifth is going to apply to every note with the exception of the 7th one in your key. In this case, it is the C sharp. And let me show you what happens if you decide to use that 7th note. So we have our C sharp, and we do the same thing. We count up 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That gives us a G sharp. And G sharp is not in our key. G is not sharped in the key of D. So we can't use that. What we're going to have to do is either augment it or diminish it, which essentially means augment means, bring it up a half step. Diminish it is bring it down. That's not something we are going to have to worry about for this particular rhythm. But it is something that I'm going to mention and keep in mind in case you wanted to do something like this. These diminished chords. I love them. Some people might not, but I love the little dissonance. So they're definitely fun to use, but we're not going to use it for this track. So let's just go back up to the D and A. Okay, so we have our root notes, and we have our perfect fifths. The last thing that we need to do to complete our chords is to add the third. And the third is either going to be a major third or a minor third. But again, it's really not that scary because it's all determined by the notes in our key. So from your root note, you are going to count up either 3 or 4. If you count up 3 half steps, it's a minor third. If you count up 4, it's a major third. So let's just do it. We've got, let me turn on the trigger notes thing. It's just weird to not have anything play. Oops. So go to our root note and count up 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so 3 is going to be F, but F is not in our key. So we go up 4, F sharp, there it is. We've got major. And we do the same thing for the rest of them. Count up 3, 1, 2, 3, A is in the key, A sharp would not be. So that's going to be minor. And we just do the same thing for the rest. Okay, so now that we have all of our chords or triads, we've got this sound. Gorgeous, beautiful. So we can do one of two things here. We can call this done, or you can be like me and get really, really bothered that all of these notes are scattered out like this. And by scattered out, I mean this and this. That's a pretty wide range of notes. They're not together as one. So something else you can do to change the sound of these chords are what are known as inversions. And what that pretty much means is you take a note and you lower it an octave. So you go from this C sharp and bring it down to this C sharp. Don't take that one with you. It's the same chord, but it's going to have a different sound. So it's going to go from this to this. That's A sharp. And I personally love inversions. You can do it again. Second inversion. And yeah, so there's a ton of things that you can do, tons of customization, but it's a lot that you can do, but it all falls into place. Maybe we can try this too. Oops. Love it. I should also mention that I did not go ahead and make this beforehand. I felt that it would be better if I made it with you guys to kind of show you a little bit of the creative process. So pardon the cuts. That's me trying to figure out where I want to go. Okay, so now that we have the bass, we can start going into the higher octaves and start making the melody. What I'm actually going to do is bring this down an octave, because typically the piano, or when you're playing the piano, the bass is in this octave. This C is what's known as middle C, in case you're interested. I mean, it's really not too important. If you want to have your bass up here, it's completely fine. But for me, I'm just going to lower it an octave so it sounds a bit more like bass. So like that. Now, to make the melody, again, you can freestyle it all you want, and as long as you play the notes that are in your key, you are probably going to sound at least like you know what you're doing. But for the sake of keeping it simple, what we're going to do is we're going to copy this note and bring it up an octave. And what that essentially means is you take this D, F sharp, A, and draw it in again, right up higher. So you go to the next D, F sharp, A. You can also do the click and drag thing. So what we do, a very, very simple thing we can do is play each of these notes individually in any pattern you desire. Just like that. And it's going to sound good. And you can use any pattern you want. A personal favorite of mine is this. This. Just like that. Maybe something like this. Up and down. Just something like that. I think for this video we're gonna go with this just because it's my favorite. And yeah, you just do for all of the not inverted chords, you can do the same thing. So just like this, and this shouldn't be too bad. Yeah, it's fine. And then, yeah, just same kind of, I mean, I guess, okay, technically I can just do this. Okay, so that click and drag and copy and paste and whatnot works great for the chords that you have not inverted. For the ones that you did invert, you might want to do something a little different, because if you just copy these up, you get something that sounds like this, which doesn't sound bad, but it is still an F sharp chord. And so what you want to do, I shouldn't say what you want to do, what I normally like to do is bring the original chord back and play it up, because then you get this. And it just sounds, it doesn't sound as linear, it sounds different. This is not inverted, so we can just go 2, 3, 4, 5. Wait, I'm high. Yeesh. And oh, come on. And this chord, remember, we also inverted. We brought this note. We brought that note up. So this is going to be interesting because you are going to have the same note being played in the melody and the bass. So you've got. I'm gonna delete this. And then bring that back up. Yeah. And this is the same thing. This is another one that we inverted. And bam. Sorry. So here we go. And there we have it. There is the basic melody, and of course you can, you add the drum beat underneath it, you add different instruments and all that, and of course you aren't confined to these rules. Like if you want to freestyle like some other note pattern in the melody, that is absolutely music. There are rules, but you don't have to follow them. One last thing that I want to kind of pass on or suggest to use when making a song is something that I absolutely love to do, and that is taking our thirds of our chords here that we made and playing them in another instrument. I am going to mess up all of my screen regions here. Yeah, screw it. You'll get the idea. So, yeah, say goodbye to the keyboard. I thought I was so clever doing that because I didn't have a camera to actually show you my hands playing the keys. So I'm going to cheat a little bit here, and I'm just going to load up a strings patch because strings always sound good. By the way, if you go to the Propeller Heads shop, if you are a Reason user, these sampled euphonic strings are gorgeous. I don't know if only people using Reason can use them. I just kind of assume because it comes from the Propeller Head shop, but I'm rambling now. So anyway, this probably looks a little messed up, so just bear with me. If we drag our melody down into this track and delete everything that we're not going to need, all the melody notes, and if we revert all these chords back to their original. See what I mean? They sound great. Back to what they originally were before they were inverted. Forget what I did. So there we go. And if we delete the root and the fifth, so we just leave the thirds. Oops, you're gone, you're gone, you're gone. Solo it out, you get And again, I might be cheating because they're strings, but if you play that along, you get... And then, of course, you can... So yeah, it's like I said, and you throw a drum beat underneath it or whatever, and start filling it out a little more. But that is the basics of melody, and I would argue that nothing that I did is really that complicated. It's all, if you just follow the rules that I laid out as far as making chords and the melody patterns and whatnot, stay in your key. You can do the same thing. So yeah, if you have any more questions, I will definitely be reading comments. I always read the comments. Let me know. If you like this video, let me know. If you'd like to see more tutorials, let me know. And yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.